Your Money with Michelle, only on Money FM 89.3. Money and Me on Your Money, only on Money FM 89.3.
I'm Michelle Martin. Welcome to Money and Me. How do you get your hands on the best air mile credit cards in Singapore? Now that we're all traveling again, this really matters. You don't want to apply for 10 different credit cards. You have zero time to research how to get into an SIA premium cabin based on what you spend your money on. So we have just the thing for you. You want to save money on flights because you know inflation is here. All you need is a secret map to the best air mile credit cards. And my next guest has plotted that map for you. He's written a terrific new ebook. It is just out on shelves. It's called A Beginner's Guide to Singapore's Best Air Mile Credit Cards. Tim Phillips is the author of Chasing Miles, and he says it's the only Singapore credit card hacking guide that you'll ever need. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you doing? Yeah,
I am so excited.
Me too. I'm a passionate miles accumulator, and I kind of want to share that knowledge with everyone out there to kind of get them up to speed on their miles game.
I have no idea what the miles conversion rates mean on these credit card brochures. I have too many cards in my wallet, all trying to hack this game. So I hope you can help us out.
Too.
First of all, give us some inspiration. I know you want to sell a bazillion copies of your new ebook, and I think you should because it's really well written. But help us understand, first of all, how successful have you been at cracking the air mile credit card game?
Yeah, so I mean, I came from Hong Kong originally, so the miles game in Hong Kong is actually not as good as the miles game here in terms of the earnings that you can get. So when I came here, I started to do a bit more research on the conversions and how many miles per dollar that you would get per spend. And initially, when I first got here, I was quite successful at getting a couple of free economy class flights maybe every year, or maybe a premium economy class flight. But then I think as you start to ramp up and you start to maybe spend a bit more, you accumulate more miles, right? And I started to be able to kind of get more like a long haul business class flight on miles with me and my wife. Now that I've got two sons, it's becoming a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging, but I love a good challenge. So that's part of the thrill, is trying to figure out how to maneuver that. But yeah, I mean, I think probably like 2 or 3 years ago, I went on like first class suites, like, the new suites on A380s from here to Hong Kong. I mean, it's only about 4-hour flight, but that was really nice. I did that, and it was quite like an amazing experience I'd never been on. And obviously you would never really consider paying for that, like as a revenue ticket. So to get it for, you pay the taxes, I think it was like $50 Sing per person to go with my wife and then our son, who was under 2 at the time. And so that was amazing. And then earlier this year, I managed to get business class to London for all 4 of us, but I booked, like last October. I'm sorry, in May of 2022, I went with, the 4 of us, and I managed to get tickets, but I had accumulated a lot of miles, obviously, over the period of the pandemic. So, so I mean, I'm trying to get to the point where I don't need to pay for long haul business class flights. I think that's the key, and that's what
that is an aspiration.
Yeah, it's like something I want to be able to do without having to pay for it, with that, sort of just getting it on redeeming the miles for flights. So that's the key. So it's been a bit more strategic, but I've been doing the miles game for about maybe 7 or 8 years now since I've been in Singapore. So really enjoying it.
Absolutely fantastic. So in this book, Chasing Miles, it's an ebook, so people can download it like that after they pay $30, and they'll get all your insights there. And I won't give away too much, but as you know, I'm crazy about this miles game. I have no idea how to crack it because I don't understand the miles per spend breakdown. It seems to be different on each card. So,
yeah.
Tell me about the key mile earning basis that we have to be thinking about and covering. Or the key metrics.
I think first off, like if you want to download the book or go buy the book, go to timtalksmoney.com, and the book is there. So it's Tim Talks Money, and you can find the book there. The sort of I think the key for you to understand the conversion is to look at how much, you're spending on, like, I mean, for me, I've pretty much broken it down to the two bigger banks like DBS and UOB. So I think I won't give too much away there, but their conversion rates are the same. So basically, like one bank point for them, or sorry, like, yeah, one bank point for them equals 2 miles, because there are lots of other banks out there that have some crazy ratios, and it's just a lot of people don't really have the time to figure that out. So
Yeah.
I basically keep it to DBS and UOB, which are the two of the biggest credit cards banks in Singapore, and they have a really good range of miles earning credit cards. And what you want to do, I mean, what I try to lay out in the book is that really you need to maximize how many miles you're earning per dollar that you spend, right?
Hmm.
So
But
a lot
figuring
of the
that
things,
out is the problem because they
yeah,
have it
figuring that out. So
converted back to their
they're
bank
converted to back
points.
points. Yeah. So I lay that all out in the book. I try to explain it to you in as layman terms, and I give you like the whole breakdown of how do you convert it, because a lot of people go with maybe the American Express because it's easy and it goes straight into your bank account. But if
Yep.
you're actually trying to accumulate miles, it's probably one of the worst ways to do that, right? Because it gives you the worst like earnings. It gives you one of the worst earnings ratios. So if you're thinking about earning the most, it's you want to basically earn 4 miles per dollar that you spend. That's the key metric. That's one of my golden rules. I have like 4 or 5 golden rules in the book, and that's one of the golden rules is you want to spend as much as your monthly credit card spend on credit cards that earn you 4 miles per dollar. And there are many out there that do. So it's more about just trying to find the ones that do among the big banks and not be drawn into a lot of the like sign up bonuses. There are lots of sign up bonuses out there that say, oh, you can earn like
Yes.
20,000 miles if you sign up now and spend X amount, like maybe a few $100s, right? And that's great.
Mm.
But then after that's lapsed and you've got your 20,000 miles, what are you going to earn on the subsequent spend? I think that's something that maybe these banks don't want you to really think about too much, or they just say like they lure you in with the sign up bonus, and then after that what you spend is subsequently quite insignificant if you're trying to build it up. So I think understanding which cards can give you the most accelerated spend is the key, because instead of spending, for example, I'll say to go to London on a one-way business class ticket on a saver, one of the saver class, it's like 103,000 miles or something, which is a lot of miles, right? And so you need to spend a lot of money to get there. If you're spending, say you spend on an American Express card, which gets you 1.1 miles per dollar, you have to spend around 90,000 Singapore dollars or 93,000 to get to redeem that one-way ticket, right? But if you're doing it on 4 miles per dollar, you'll have to spend maybe like 25 to 26,000. So it's nearly a quarter of what you would spend on an American Express card. So I think it's key to really find the right cards that fit, that accelerate your spend. So what you're spending is not going to
Yeah.
waste. You're not leaving miles on the table. And so
Yeah.
I lay that out all in the book and try to really break it down for people to say, this is, this card should be for this card should be
Mm.
for that. And there are certain cards that should be used for certain spending as well.
What kind of spending?
Okay, so these are specialized spending cards, the ones that earn 4 miles per dollar. They're specialized, which means you have to spend on specific channels, right, to get that accelerated rate. If you don't spend on that specific channel, then you'll earn like literally 0.4 miles per dollar. So you will get 4 miles per dollar if you spend on, say, online. DBS does an online credit card. I'll just give you that tip there. There's an online credit card that gives you 4 miles per dollar on all your online spend up to $2,000 per month, right? But if you go over that $2,000, you'll start earning nothing again. You'll start earning 0.4 miles per dollar, right? But if you use that credit card and tap it anywhere or go out for dinner and pay with it, you'll earn 0.4 miles per dollar. You'll earn, nothing. But if you spend it online, you'll get the most out of it that you can. So it needs to be specific, and you need to have all your bases covered. And so that's what I lay out in the book as well. There are
So you
certain
map out for us
channels.
so we know
Yeah, I
if we're
map out
online
for you
spenders, this is the card
online
to get.
spenders. This is the
If you
card.
spend on
If you're
beauty, this is the card to
Yeah,
get,
this
that
is the
kind of thing.
card. And if you're just doing UOB does a great one, which is just contactless. And everywhere now has contactless, right? I can't think of a
Oh,
place
yeah.
that doesn't have a contactless terminal. And there are a
Yeah.
couple of cards out there for UOB that if you just tap, you'll get 4 miles per dollar. Or if you just use your Apple iPhone or your Google Android phone, you'll be able to get 4 miles per dollar. But these are things that I think the banks don't really promote that much, because I assume they're probably not super profitable cards. These cards that earn 4 miles per dollar, you don't tend to see them actually offer that many sign-up bonuses. And so that might tell you something about maybe the profitability level or the exposure level that the marketing departments in these banks really want to give these cards. So I'm trying to uncover these cards and trying to put them together so you're not applying for like 10 different cards and trying to figure out a strategy. I give you, if you want 1 card, you have this. If you want 2 cards, you have this. And if you want 3 cards, you can have this combination, because I understand not everyone has the time to have, 8 or 10 or 12 different cards. It's just too much to keep track of. So I try and make it easy and try to maximize people's spend on as few cards as possible. I think that's the
Can
key.
I really fly? Can I really fly on an SIA premium cabin for free?
Well, actually, okay, that might be a bit misleading, because I mean, free, quote unquote free, you have to pay a tax to get it, but you get the revenue cost of the ticket free. But everyone who flies out of Changi, or if you fly out of Heathrow or
pay the tax.
Tokyo Haneda, you have to pay a tax, right? So
Yeah.
in Singapore, that tax I think is like $60, so it's minimal. But if you're flying out of, say, London, then the tax could be maybe 400 Sing, so it's a bit more. But if you think about the actual revenue cost of that ticket, say business to London, it's 7,000 to 8,000 Singapore dollars. So it's a huge amount of money. And so if you get it on the lowest tier in terms of redemptions, you can pay maybe 400 to 500 Sing in taxes per person, right? So that's saving you like $6,500 to $7,000 straight off the bat. So you are paying, but obviously you're getting a very premium experience. Everyone can, I think you just need to be able to plan ahead, right? I think for myself, booking for London or booking anything long haul, you have to really plan ahead. So if you have kids and you know their holiday terms and you know when you want to go on holiday, if you go to Singapore Airlines and you try to redeem a ticket, you can actually redeem a ticket up to about 350 days in advance, nearly a year in advance. So if you know where you're going and you know the destination and you want to do it as soon as you can, if you don't think it's likely that your plans are going to change. Obviously other people, they might be a bit more inflexible with their plans, or they don't have everything like planned out. I'd say, like, if you go short haul, it's a lot easier to redeem a ticket in business class if you're doing something like to Hong Kong or to maybe Bangkok or maybe to Perth or something that's in the region. The availability will be a lot better, right? But if you're trying to redeem obviously to London or to Frankfurt or to Rome or to a European city or the US, it's a lot it requires a lot more advanced planning, I would say. So I think that's the key if you're thinking about redeeming, is plan ahead, and really try and lock in the longer haul premium class tickets, because those are the ones that are the hardest to get availability on.
Listen, we've done tons of shows on the miles card versus the cash earning cards,
Cashback,
and I'm always
yeah.
on the miles side because I think the
Good to
conversion rates
hear.
are much better. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think I save much with the cashback because there are always these caps on it.
Caps.
When it comes to Tim Phillips, by the way, is the author of Chasing Miles. That's a new ebook. It's available. You can download it now. I love that it's a Singapore-based guide to understanding the credit card mile conversion thing. Because it's an ebook, I mean, you'll have our email addresses and all that when we pay $30 for this ebook. Will you be updating it? Because these things change, these promos.
Yeah, things do change. So I think I'm going to try and be updating it sort of every quarter. To be honest, like a lot of the cards that I mentioned, like their earnings rates don't really alter or change that much. So if you're looking at like promotions and stuff, those are a bit more fleeting, right? So it wouldn't really be useful for me to update that book in terms of the promotions out there, because you can go out there and find promotions. If you go to a lot of these miles bloggers, they'll like have bank promotions if you want to, if you want to sign up for something, or if there's an accelerated spending promotion on certain banks, you could do it. But for me, it's more, I came up with this because I felt like there wasn't really anything for people who are just starting out or wanted it to break it down without going into the weeds. A lot of the miles bloggers are really good, but they're very passionate, and I think they kind of talk in their own lingo, and a lot of people get lost. So I basically just try and break it down. And again, Singapore's miles market is very unique, right? Like every miles market is different. Like you will want to redeem on Singapore Airlines, If you're in the US, there's a whole other miles chasing community there. And if you go to Hong Kong, there's a miles chasing community. I think it's kind of the same in every national market. It will be a bit different with the cards that you have and the earnings rates that you have. So I didn't really see something that was done for Singapore, people who really want to get into it, who don't really have maybe the time or the energy to research it and go into the weeds. So this is more for people starting out and wanting to at least redeem flights. If you don't want to redeem in business class, then you can obviously redeem in economy. I think you'd still save money, right? I think that's the key.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's saving money is the key, especially with inflation and with as you said, cashback is always capped. That's the key for me. If cashback was like 5%, there's a lot of these rates that say 8%, like 6%, 7%, which is great if it's not capped,
Sounds
right? But
good. Yeah.
if it's capped at like $50 per month, it's just I don't know. I don't know how much I appreciate that. So it seems like, if it wasn't capped, it would be much more competitive, I think. But I think for miles, if you do fly at least, once or twice a year, then it just makes sense to get that, because then you can at least redeem it and at least get, quote unquote, a free flight without paying, whether it's economy or premium economy or business. But obviously,
Mm.
yeah. Sorry, go on, Michelle.
I knew this was the ebook for me because I looked at the breakdowns and right there it said, you need to be a woman to get this card. And I laughed my head off. I was like, he's that
Yeah,
specific. Listen, he's telling
yeah,
you this is gender specific. I love
specific.
it. Is
Yeah.
there a best air mile card for us ladies? Do you go into that?
There is, yeah. So I mean, if you're a woman, I think the best card to get it's called the UOB Solitaire or Ladies card. There are two versions. There's a ladies card which has a $1,000 cap for the 4 miles per dollar, and there's a Lady Solitaire which gives you a $3,000 cap. So it's higher. The key is that you can actually spend it. You can actually choose the sort of you can choose what you spend it on. So every quarter you decide whether you want to spend it on dining to get the 4 miles per dollar, and you can choose two segments. You can say dining and like groceries or something, or you could say beauty and health and shopping. So there are lots of different permutations that you can choose, and if you think you're going to spend more in the upcoming quarter, you can clarify that, and they'll give you the accelerated rate on that spend. I think the key for this card is that you cannot actually apply for it if you're a man. There are some women's cards out there where men can also apply, so it doesn't really make sense. But for this card, only women can apply. But for all the guys out there, I would just suggest putting that card on your Apple iPhone, if your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, and spending it. So, or taking, having a supplementary card. But the key is that you can always put it on your phone and then spend it as a guy. You don't have to be like, okay, the woman has to, apply for it, or your wife has to apply for it. And you can't spend on it. So I think there are ways for the guys to also benefit from their wives and their
Do
girlfriends
you
if
write
they have.
about that? Do you write about
Yeah, I
that?
do. I mean, I think
Oh, great.
one of the keys is that, if you're in a couple, obviously one of the easiest ways to get your miles sort of cap higher is to just apply for the same card, right? And then you've got more spend that is earning 4 miles per dollar every month. And so if you guys are, if you say, Michelle, you have a miles card that earns 4 miles per dollar and is only
Yeah.
capped at 2,000.
Mhm.
If your husband has one that also you want to double that cap, then just get him to apply to exactly the same card, or I think that's the easy way to double your caps. And so I think it's more in the sense that these 4 miles per dollar spends, they tend to be capped at a certain level. So if you're spending a decent amount, you need to adjust where you're spending it on that card. But there's nothing to say that you know the husband can apply for it and the wife can also apply for exactly the same card as a separate person, right? So there's no like hard and fast rule to say that you can't have two separate caps. So I think that's also something I found useful. If you're also looking at travel spend, which can also be quite a lot if you're spending on
Oh,
flights,
yes. You
there are
mean
certain cards.
oh, not
Travel, like,
spending in another country. It's
yeah, well,
spending
spending in
on
another country is, I mean, there are cards that can give you better rates on foreign exchange, but I would just say that you're also paying like a 3.3% FX fee. So it's quite hefty. So I know a lot of people probably won't want to, you're effectively buying miles at that rate. Like I mean, it's easy to spend on it because you don't want to carry cash, but if you
Mhm.
wanted to, if you wanted to use cash, you could, but that card that you're spending on, you will have to pay like a spread, right, on the
Got it.
FX, which is like
Uh,
3.3, which is quite hefty, but it does
Got it.
earn you
Yeah.
more for a lot of cards, which is
I
an option.
You mentioned something that's piqued my interest. What do you think about buying miles? You see a lot of these companies out there that offer
Yeah.
that.
I think you have to be really, really passionate and you kind of need to know where you're going to go and plan ahead if you want to buy the miles. Because I see there are lots of options like Citibank does one called City Payoh where you can actually pay your tax or you can pay your rent. And there are certain providers of like card up where you can use your card to actually pay for rent, or you can use it to pay for school fees.
Here
Because a
in
lot of these
Singapore?
yeah, here in Singapore, yeah. But and you can actually earn miles on that, right? But you don't earn the 4 miles per dollar. You can only earn it on like the basic, 1.2, 1.4 miles per dollar cards. But the thing is that you're really you are actually paying to actually earn, and so I think you have to be either comfortable with that or know where you're going to go and use those miles like quickly after you accumulate them. And so for
Mm-mm-mm.
me, I don't tend to actually buy miles that much unless there's an offer which is really blows me out of the water, which you don't tend to see that much in Singapore because, I think the miles buying facilities, they tend to be for really, really passionate miles chasers who maybe have a big trip coming up and they want to pay their tax in one go, and then they can use the miles to redeem straight away. So I think you have to understand where your needs are and what you're planning for. But there's nothing to say you can't do it. It's just I would look at the rate that they're charging you and make sure that it's competitive.
I'm so sad. I have one of those cards that earn me like 1.2 miles, and I'm thinking that's great. I don't want to upgrade ever because I don't want to pay that hefty credit card fee. I'm thinking I
Yeah,
don't want to pay that. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Is that the one that's the premium cards, right? Like, is it
Yeah,
the
yeah. I mean, do you factor
yeah,
that in as well into your equations in this book? Like how much are you
yeah,
actually paying
definitely.
for this card?
Like annual fees. Okay, so that's one
Yeah.
tip I do give in the book. You do not need to pay annual fees. I meet a lot of friends who say, "Oh, it's like annual fees," and I say, "No, you definitely do not need to pay annual fees unless you have one of those really premium cards like an Amex Centurion or something, which is you pay 500 or 600 per year. Maybe that is very difficult to get out of, but actually most entry level credit cards, I think banks just whack it on. They whack on that annual fee, and they hope that you just pay it or don't ask questions. But if you call like UOB or DBS, there's an actual automated response that say, if you want to get your annual fee waived, press one. And all you have to do is just call up customer service, go to the automated option, press one, and they're like, "Oh, your annual fee has been waived." And so right there, you can kind of save yourself $150, $200, right? Just keep
Some
keep in
some
mind.
banks don't have that option.
Yeah, some banks might not. I think it depends on
Yeah.
how much in demand the card is. I've never
Mm.
personally experienced a time where I haven't had a card fee waived. So for me, it seems as though banks just put it on there to see, maybe people don't ask questions. A lot of people don't ask questions and then pay it. But
Yeah.
if you do take the time to actually just call them up, or it's an automated response now, you don't actually even need to speak to someone. You just go to
Yeah.
their phone
You gotta
banking
be
and they'll do
you
it for
just gotta
you
be
straight away.
vigilant and
You just
and
gotta be
hit that
vigilant.
thing
Yeah.
and call and figure it
You
out.
call and
Listen,
get
Tim,
in
before
there.
we let you go, we've got 2 minutes
Yeah.
left on the clock. I wanna mention where to
Yep.
buy your book again in a while,
Yes.
but first, give us one tip. Give us one tip on hacking air miles that is not in the book, Tim.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a good one. There is a spontaneous escapes every month. So Singapore Airlines, every month, about the 15th or 16th of the month, they put out a list of destinations where they give you 30% off the saver redemption rates for your air miles. But you've got to travel in the following month. So February 15th, they gave out a list of destinations for 30% off. And you can get 30% off to places in Southeast Asia. There's Hong Kong, a couple places, in North Asia as well. And that's a pretty good redemption rate. You get 30% off the actual rate that you would pay in terms of miles, but you have to travel the following month. So get on that and like take a look at where the things are, like where the destinations are. Sometimes they won't have things that you want to go to, but if you're quite flexible and you can travel the following month, that's an easy way for you to save 30% on redeeming tickets. And I think that's done every month. They've started to do that. Obviously, they stopped during the pandemic, but they're starting to do that now. And they, if you're a bit more flexible and you have the time to hop onto a flight the following month, go check out their spontaneous awards escapes because they're pretty good. They have a pretty good list out there.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Tim. This is
yeah,
gold. Tim Phillips is the
yeah,
author of Chasing Miles, the only Singapore credit card hacking guide you will ever need. You can get the guide for
yeah.
$30 at timtalksmoney.gumroad.com. Is that right, Tim?
That's right. And also, could I could I just put out there that for the first 15 listeners, I've got a promo code which gives you 30% off. So if you put in radio 30 RADIO and 30, you'll get 30% off the price of the ebook. So yeah, timtalksmoney.com or timtalksmoney.
Wait, what's the code again?
.com.
Because I'm gonna buy it after this.
Yeah,
What's the
radio
code?
30
Radio 30.
RADIO.
Okay.
Radio 30. So
Okay.
since I'm on
For the
on
first
Money FM,
29
radio 30.
people.
Yeah, or the first,
Because
I
I'm
think,
gonna
sorry,
buy
first 15 listeners. So yeah, you can go there, put that promo code
15.
in, and you will be able to get a 30% discount. So I hope I kind of break it down for people. That was the passion of mine, is just really just break it down for everyone who's starting out and just give you some card combinations and take you through the step-by-step process of actually redeeming, because I think that's something that also isn't really explained to people. How do they convert the bank points? You know, you don't actually earn miles when you spend, you earn bank points and then you got to convert it. So there's a lot of these processes and admin, which is super boring, but I try and break it down as succinctly as possible. So yeah, timtalksmoney.com. Please check it out and please buy it.
We will. And thank you so much for the promo code for our listeners,
Yeah.
Tim. We really appreciate
you.
it. He's Tim Phillips. I'm Michelle Martin. This is Money and Me. The news is next. Stay with us.
Money FM 89.